What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of At Home with Mark. Today is season 3. I believe that you are episode 19, but we have Mr. Rob Compa from Dopapod on the show tonight. Rob, thank you for making some time this evening. And you know, you just got back from tour, so this is like recovery mode.
That's okay, man. I mean, I actually found myself being antsy for I think that's the funny thing when you get home from tour is it's hard to like let yourself be lazy because you're used
Right?
to being busy all the time, which is good for you and you need to do it, but you know, after my fifth hour of TV watching, you know,
I know. Let's
it's good to do something, you know.
let's put that under the microscope too, because people glamorize being on tour so much, but like you and I know it's a lot of like hurrying up to wait kind of
Yeah, it
situation.
is.
And that's like, I think that encompasses the tour aesthetic the best, that statement. But like, what's your experience? Because I know you guys got a bus this time, right? Was this the first bus tour?
The first bus tour, yeah.
How
Yeah.
was that?
It's awesome. I won't sugarcoat it at all. It's amazing.
Mhm.
Especially after 13 years of like vans and just like not nice vans, like Chevy vans, you know, with no
You guys,
headrests on them. So
yeah, you
yeah,
guys grinded hard, man, for a
yeah,
long time.
yeah. So but the bus is great. It actually feels a little bit more like a teleportation machine than a vehicle because most of the time when it's moving, we're sleeping.
Yeah.
So it like I close my eyes and you know, you go to sleep. When you get a good night's sleep, it feels like you blinked, you know?
Yeah.
So it feels like I shut my eyes and when I opened them, you know, when I opened them, I was in, I don't know, Nebraska. And when I opened them again, I'm in Colorado. You
Yeah.
know?
That's
So
crazy.
it's pretty trippy. And it definitely it makes it a lot easier to tour. I feel like everybody's in a better mood, everybody has more energy to play, you have more time to prepare every day, like you can learn things and practice with the band and stuff and get a lot done, but that time still goes by so fast. You think you have all day to mill around a city and do whatever, but before you know it, it's like, oh my god, the show isn't an hour, you know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
How do you sleep on those? I've always thought like that's probably a hard thing for people who even like for me, I get like motion sick. Like, how do you do sleeping on those? Are you just like I'm out and it's fine?
I slept great on it,
Yeah.
personally. The first night was bad because I chose a bottom bunk, and I had kind of an irrational just thought of being crushed by the bunks above me, which I know is totally ridiculous. And also I was near, like, the wheel well and everything, so it was noisier, and so
Yeah.
I didn't sleep well when I was in that bunk, but then I took the very top bunk, which should freak people out more because 'cause they're afraid they're gonna fall out or something, but that was like a little fort up there. It was awesome.
That's nice,
And
dude.
then I slept great. It's like pitch black dark in there too. It's
Oh, yeah.
yeah, there's sort of like a front lounge and then a back lounge, and then in the middle leading from one to the other is where the bunks are. And there's these sliding doors that are like soundproofed or something because when you shut them, you can't hear what anybody's talking about or anything. It's just dead quiet and like you can't tell if it's daytime or nighttime or anything. It's just dark, so you get a good night's sleep on them.
Yeah.
I think whether or not we realize it, though, like I think you probably don't get as effective sleep as if you were just in a real bed without. Because even when the bus is parked, it's still like vibrating. It's never turned off, you know.
Mm.
So I feel
Yeah.
like it's something with like REM or whatever. You never get quite as good of a night's sleep as you would at home, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Understandably so. I mean, who sleeps better than in your own bed? You know
I
what I
know.
mean? Like it's totally different, dude.
It's so nice to be home. Yeah, I've been looking
I'm
forward
sure.
to
That's
it.
awesome, dude. Well, so how I usually start these off, since we're like kind of old friends, we used to hang out a little bit and did a couple of shows together in
Yeah.
Boston. So we'll get into all that. But what is what is your earliest musical memory?
Of playing or just perceiving music?
Anything. Earliest memory of music.
Well, it goes back. I don't think I could be specific, but it would definitely involve my dad just playing guitar in our house because My dad's like kind of a strummy folk singer. Like he just writes songs and strums and sings, you know. And he's written so many songs. It's not even funny. And so it would probably it would be most likely like my dad playing guitar in the kitchen at night with like he would invite friends over who were like bluegrass pickers and stuff, and I would just kind of like, I thought it was cool that they did that. But if you're asking me to get specific, I remember being at a Christmas party at my house growing up, and my dad got his guitar out and everyone was like, play songs. And he knew Friend of the Devil by the Grateful Dead. I didn't know what the Grateful Dead was, but I liked when he played that song. So I remember begging him to play that.
Nice.
Just begging, you know?
Nice, dude. I didn't know that your dad was music. Is your mom musical too?
She would say no, but you know, something cool that happened a couple of years ago, because I have memories of my mom playing guitar too. Very, very vague ones. And she had like a Yamaha acoustic, just like a cheap guitar. And I was always like, Mom, you play guitar too, don't you? And she was like, oh, I mean, like, you know, she would like undersell it.
Right.
And then I was home a couple years ago and I was like digging around in like a room that just had a bunch of like old junk in it in my mom and dad's house. And I found a bunch of cassette tapes and I just started like putting them in a cassette player to see what was on them. And I found a tape of my mom playing guitar and singing for me and my sister when we're babies.
Whoa,
I can't even speak in it. I'm just making like mumbling noises.
Dude.
And she sounds great. She's like finger picking in it and like nice, beautiful falsetto voice, you know, and like playing like kind of kids songs for us. I lost the tape. I can't find it anymore, but it was really, I know. It was really cool to find though. And she even sounded younger in it. You could tell my mom was like probably younger than I am now in it, you know.
Man.
So that was a cool find, you know.
That's super cool. Are your siblings like musical at all too? Like it was just
Not
you?
really. My sister is extremely artistic. She went to college for art. You know, watercolors and charcoals and painting, anything, you know.
That's cool.
So creatively, like she's even more artistic than I am. And my mom's a painter too, you know.
Oh,
so
wow.
my dad was the musician and my mom was the painter, and then me and my sister sort of followed suit respectively.
Right.
And I have a half brother too, who he's a doctor, so super smart guy. And I've never heard him. I remember he plays piano, and I remember hearing him when I was a kid. I remember hearing him play Pachelbel's Canon on piano, and he sounded great.
Nice.
And apparently he's a drummer too, but I've yet to hear him play drums. So
man,
yeah,
dude, that's pretty cool. Like, I mean, because like no one in my family does anything musical, so it's like, yeah, it has to be. It's weird. I had to like really seek out music like when I was a kid. Like, I didn't have. I guess my parents listened to some records in the house a little bit, but like not enough to like light my fire. Like I had to find it on my own.
Yeah. When did you do you remember a point in time when you started getting really into music? Like, can you pinpoint that? Like you asked me to?
Yeah. So I talk about this often because my whole, you know, beginning to get to know people in this show is this whole like, what's the moment or the first musical memory?
Yeah.
Mine 100% is being in my buddy's bedroom playing NBA jams. And he put, this has got to be like 91. He put on Nirvana's Nevermind.
That'll do it.
I was like, what? and then I stopped playing and he's like, if you like that, you'll like this. And he put on Pearl Jam's 10, which is like there's Pop Funkos behind me in that box. That's Pearl Jam. All those little guys.
Okay. Wow.
So they're my guys. Like they're the reason I play guitar.
Gotcha.
And then I found my way through, like my older brother was super into the Dead and stuff. So that's how I got into jam bands, was through my brother.
Okay.
And he had a copy of Junta on tape that I stole and listened to a gajillion times. And, you know, so that was the way, but like, it's definitely, I love hearing people's stories and the arc of how they ended up where they are, because, you know, if you think about a lot of people around our age, I mean, especially my age, like growing up in the 90s, like that's what you had, man. You had the grunge era. You had like, I was into Pantera and all these heavy bands because, you know, we're kind of cutting our teeth on the instrument and trying to figure out, I guess, what we like.
Yeah.
You know, because did you go through that phase too? Did you have like your awkward music phase where you were switching to doing
Oh,
things
of
differently?
course.
Tell me about it.
I could tell you all about it.
Yeah.
So you're lucky because you were listening to music and enjoying it in the first half of the 90s when everything was like amazing. You know, like some of the best music that was ever made.
Yeah.
And my fiance is 4 years older than me, so she always like I'll tell her what I was into when I was like, you know, in my formative teenage years, and she'll be like, "Oh, gross." Like,
What are you tell me about it? What are you listening to at the time?
well, a lot of this music I still like and have like mega respect for, but like uh uh and some of it I don't, to be clear too. But like I loved the Bare Naked Ladies when I was a kid.
Yeah, great band.
My dad took me to see them, and then another friend of mine, who was actually my high school librarian, but it was like he was just such a music nut. He took me to see him another time. Um, so yeah, with my fiance, I'll be like, I saw the Bare Naked Ladies when I was 15, and she'll be like, really? I saw Red Hot Chili Peppers and Stone Temple Pilots. You get what you get,
I
man,
lose.
you know?
Yeah.
So that and the first CD I ever bought at a music store was Semisonic Feeling Strangely Fine, like Closing Time and all that stuff. It was on the
Mhm.
radio, and I was 12.
Yeah.
And you would, you know, I feel like kind of like maybe I'm not old enough to be telling people about, you know, bygone eras, but I feel like maybe I'm at a point where young people don't understand this, that people would tell you about a band and you'd have no way to hear what they sounded like without spending 20 bucks.
Yep.
And how many 12-year-old kids can scrounge up 20 bucks, you know?
No,
So
dude.
so they were on the radio so I could hear them and I'd be like, I like that. I'll go get that CD, you know?
Yeah.
Uh,
You know what's interesting about that really quick is closing time. I just did a reunion show with my old band and they told me that that song closing time is not about a bar closing. It's about a dude when he had his first kid. So
wow.
he had to stop doing the things he used to
So it's
do.
like party's over kind of?
Yeah.
Wow, that could be right. And you know the front man of that band, Dan Wilson, is like one of the most highly respected and like in demand like ghost songwriters in the world now. Like
Really?
yeah, like he wrote I think like all of like or most of Adele's hits that you hear on the radio was like he co-wrote or wrote all of them apparently. Dan
I
Wilson.
did
Yeah.
not know that. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Okay.
Um but then for some more like kind of like silly ones that I remember getting because I think when I was really young, I didn't know anything about bands, so I would get like movie soundtracks because
Yeah.
I like movies, you
Yeah.
know. So I remember getting like the Rush Hour soundtrack because all the kids at school liked rap, and I was like, I want to be cool. They all like rap. I should like it too, and it never took. You know, I was just like, like I didn't know why, but I just never listened to it. I listened to it like
Mhm.
once and then got tired of it. That and I've talked to a lot of kids my age who had this album before they were like really into music, but Jock Jams. Remember Jock Jams?
Oh my god, yeah.
I had Jock Jams on cassette tape. I had the Mortal Kombat soundtrack.
Oh my god, what was on that? Was it just all EDM or
It was
really
all like
bad?
weird techno or something, you know?
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. That was way before I played guitar or had any idea that I would ever learn a musical instrument, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So when did that happen though? When was the guitar like saying, "Hey Rob, pick me up"?
That was around 6th or 7th grade. Is when it just barely I think maybe 6th grade is when it started, and around 7th grade is when I started, like, taking lessons.
Okay.
But it started in, like, middle school music class. Uh, you know, you would, like a music teacher would like, you'd spend, like, a couple of weeks on an instrument and then move on and check out some other instrument. I think I
Mhm.
remember being like that. But the music teacher had found, like, a room full of, like, old beat up classical guitars and had gotten them restrung, so we all did classical guitar for a couple of weeks, and he taught us how to play Wipeout and, the bass line to, All Blues by Miles Davis,
Nice.
which the bass line he taught us didn't actually sound anything like what that song actually is, but we didn't know any better.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and What If God Was One of Us by Joan Osborne. Those are the 3 things we had to learn on the guitar.
That's interesting. That little trifecta there. It's a little
Yeah,
strange.
and I got Wipeout down pretty good. So I would go home every day from school, and my dad had like a little toy classical guitar that I was kind of allowed to play even when he wasn't at home, you know?
Nice.
And it was
Nice.
small. I was really little, even for a sixth grader. So that was like a toy guitar, so I could actually hold it. Everything else was too big. So I would get home and watch TV, and I would just play Wipeout over and over and over and over and over again.
So that was the bug. That Wipeout got you.
Yeah, and then my dad finally. This is a funny story. I told my dad I wanted a bass for Christmas because in that music class there was an electric bass, and we would all stand in line and wait our turn to play the all blues bass line on the Squire bass.
Nice.
And I was like, "That's cool. You can plug it in, you know." So I asked my dad for a bass, and he said, he like refused. He was like, "No, I'm getting you a guitar." Probably because he just wanted an excuse to buy another guitar, you know? And so he got me like a Strat-ish guitar. It was all white with a maple neck. It was made by Hohner,
Nice.
probably $100. And there was a guitar shop down the street from where we lived. Like I could walk there. So he got me lessons there, and I started taking lessons. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so cool. So that
Yeah.
was your first electric, your first real electric, like to learn on.
Yeah. And I promptly covered it in stickers, of course, you know.
Very Billy Joe
As in-
Armstrong.
Exactly. I was just about to say, I had my copy of Nimrod and Dookie, and I was ready to go.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Dude, that band, it's funny because like back when I had those records in like high school, like early 90s, like that band for some reason for me, like obviously they're a punk band, but they're like pop punk. They get a lot of like hate from the Minor Threat fans and all that stuff, but like
Yeah.
you gotta give it up to Green Day for being so melodic. And like Trey Cool is a badass dude. That drummer, he
He's
is
awesome.
killing, man. Like
Yeah.
people don't respect that dude enough. He's a crushing player,
I
man.
love Green Day, man. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't listen to much anymore. Like it's funny, like to me, like American Idiot is still the new Green Day record. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like 15 years old or something.
Dude,
So
that's how I feel about Weezer lately. Like I was a huge Weezer fan growing up, and they just put that record. They put out like 4 records during quarantine, by the way. Did you know that?
yeah, and isn't there like Toto covers and stuff on it? And
Yeah, dude. And then
yeah.
they put out a record in 21 called Okay Human. And I would highly recommend checking it out because there are no heavy guitars. It's all string arrangements,
Wow.
drums, and maybe acoustic guitar and acoustic piano at times.
No way, really?
It is dope. The first track on that record, my daughter and I crank it every time we get in the car and we're singing at the top of our lungs. It is so hip, man. Like, I'm never really shocked by that. I feel like Rivers is a pretty forward-thinking dude, like in
Yeah.
terms of how he writes, and like he's always trying to challenge himself. But like, check that record out; it's really good.
What's that one called?
Okay Human.
Okay Human. Okay, and that's one of the 4 that they put out like last year.
Yeah, I think it's the most recent one because it's all originals. There's no
Okay.
covers on there, as far as I remember. So
I went on a Blue Album sort of like obsession for a while, like maybe like a year ago. I got back into it, and I really just because that album sounds amazing.
Oh my
even
God,
just
yeah.
Aside from how great the songs are, but I was like, I wonder if there's any information on what gear they used and all that stuff, and it's incredible how much information there is.
Really? What did you find out?
So I can't remember the website or anything, but I just Googled a bunch of stuff and I found out so much. And apparently, like a lot of those guitar tones, which like the guitars sound amazing on that, and apparently a lot of it is like a silver-faced Fender Twin turned down exceptionally quietly.
Really?
And that's how he got the sound. Yeah. Isn't that
And
weird?
he didn't put anything in front of it, like a rat or anything like that?
They probably did, but I don't remember that aspect. I just found that really interesting. Usually, like your favorite guitar tones, the answer is that they were playing incredibly loud.
Yeah.
So it was cool to hear something counterintuitive. I always thought that was really neat.
I'm gonna have to look that up tonight, man. Have you ever covered any Weezer stuff in Dopapod? Have you done anything weird like that?
A little bit, yeah. We've done. I mean, I feel like the majority of covers that we bust out are usually from the '90s or something, because it's, that was what is stuck in our heads.
Yeah, man.
for people our age, you know. But yeah, no, we did Say It Ain't So like forever ago, and then even the rest of the guys in the band don't remember this, but I remember it. But we covered Holiday once too.
Oh my god, that's such a great tune.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's such a great intro, man.
Weezer's hard to cover too because you don't realize it until you start learning it, but there's a lot of like micro details
Mhm.
where if even one of those little details goes away, like it doesn't sound right. You
Yep.
know?
Totally,
Like a
dude.
little harmony or like some little guitar, the tiniest little riff or something, and
Yeah.
it just needs to be there however small. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I
Yeah.
would love to see you guys cover In the Meantime. Remember that Space Hog tune?
Uh, is that like the Space Hog tune?
Yeah,
Like,
it was the only one, man. It was the only
yeah.
one.
I
That was
covered
their
that
hit.
with another band once.
Did you?
Yeah, when Dopapod wasn't touring for like a year and a half, me and a bunch of friends did this like week-long tour of all 90s music.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was one of the tunes on it. That was a great song.
Oh my god, it's great. It's
Yeah.
so great. The bass line in that alone.
Dude, the bass player is great in that band.
Yeah,
So
totally.
he's like the lead guitar player of the band. Like, you know what I mean? He's so good.
He is.
Yeah.
He's really good. All right, so let me circle back to Rob.
Sure.
So after you're playing that Honer for a while, when did you what was your first like guitar purchase that you're like, I want to play this kind of guitar, so I'm gonna save up and I'm gonna get it?
Yeah. It was probably like a pedal instead of a guitar, but
Okay.
if we're talking a guitar, it was a red Diamond guitar. You know Diamond? I don't think they exist anymore.
Yeah.
And it was really honestly the guitar before it was probably a better guitar, but I just wanted something different, and it was like cherry red, and it was sort of like a Les Paul format a little bit, but not really. It was more just like a slab of wood cut in the vague shape of a Les Paul.
Right.
And it had like its own version of the two-piece bridge, and then it only had like one volume and tone and a switch. And I remember that the strings would get stuck in the bridge every time I tried to restring it, which isn't very often when you're in the 8th grade. It's like twice a year or something.
Right.
But yeah, it wasn't a great guitar by any stretch of the imagination. And I definitely remember the first pedal purchase I ever got was a Dan Electro Daddy-O Overdrive. I
remember those. Yeah, I remember those. We didn't have a lot available to us at that time in our lives, man. If you think about it.
No, if you had a Tube Screamer, you were a rich kid, you know? That was big money. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude.
Most of us had those little plastic Dan Electro pedals that were like mini. Remember those?
Yeah, with a tiny little button that was like failed often. And now, Josh Scott is making a lot of those pedals so expensive on the used market because he's like reviewing them for the JHS channel. I'm like, remember this pedal? This was great.
Is that who that guy is? I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
So he can just make a pedal be valuable like that.
I mean, I think he's possibly the cause for the rise of the Klon.
Wow.
In price. So,
because I'm not really in on the pedal hype too much. I've used the same stuff for like 15 years. I might just replace it with something that does the same thing.
Right. Are you still doing the Tube Screamer thing?
No.
Okay.
I still have like, there's always something that sort of does what a Tube Screamer does on my pedal board. And then I almost always have an Analog Man King of Tone next to it. And then between those two things, I can kind of do anything that I would need to do. Probably not wouldn't be everything for someone else, but it covers everything that I would probably need it to,
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the rig in high school? Like, so did you get a band going in high school?
Yeah. Not like we weren't like playing a lot. It was like if you played a party in your garage, it was a big deal.
Yeah, man.
But we played covers, and I think we wrote 2 or 3 songs or something. And that, I want to say that didn't even happen until like my senior year or something. And we made like a little 2-song demo.
Nice.
Both songs were in like one was in C Dorian and the other was in E Dorian, but we didn't know what that was yet. Uh, and yeah, and both the same tempo and everything.
Yeah.
But my rig was I had no more de-arming by then. My dad had gotten me an Epiphone Sheraton, looks like a 335 kind of.
Nice.
And he had gotten it from a musician's friend, which was very cool. He knew I was serious about it by that point, so he was like, "Okay, we can get you a real guitar," you know.
That's
So that was
dope,
like my
dude.
first guitar that I could like play a gig with. That it would stay in tune, you know.
Yeah. So
Um,
so you've been kind of on the semi-hollow thing for a while.
yeah, as long as I like was serious about guitar, because before that, I like the first 3 or 4 years I played, I wasn't like academic about guitar per se. I just wanted to play songs. I just sang and like strummed and would like learn riffs that I liked. And then
Mhm.
around like sophomore junior year, I decided I wanted to be like as good of a guitar player specifically as I could possibly be.
Nice.
Which I probably should have let myself be open minded enough to being not just that, you know. But I got tunnel vision on that one thing, you know.
Well, it took
Um,
you pretty far. I mean, like, the way that you play now, like, you have all the elements of, the rhythm stuff, your right hand technique and,
oh, thanks, man.
yeah, I mean, it's
I should have written more songs, probably. Still got to keep working on that. But
yeah, you know.
but anyways, so I had that Sheraton, and then I had a trainer amp. That was my first tube amp.
Nice. Those are cool, man. Those old
It was,
trainers are neat.
it was pretty nice. And then I think I had like a delay pedal and the foot switch to the trainer amp,
Mhm.
and, and
Was it
yeah,
a dual channel amp?
it had an overdrive channel, and
Nice.
yeah, and I had like a little blue Boss chorus pedal.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that. Was it the super
yeah.
chorus or just like the regular
Oh yeah, you know
yeah.
it, man.
Love
Yeah,
it.
and that might have been about it. Oh, that Daddy-O overdrive that I mentioned earlier, I had that. That
Yeah,
that was my rig in high school.
that's
Yeah.
dope. So then let's talk about how your rig has evolved too, because there's a lot of guitar players on this, and I've not seen you with anything but a PRS in your hands for as long as I've known you.
Oh, wow.
I think. I mean, I think the last gig that we did right before we were talking, right before we moved back to Baltimore, I'm pretty sure you were playing a PRS that night. I think you had your hollow body, didn't you?
I think I remember what you were playing.
Oh,
I've been
yeah?
curious if my guess is right. I wanna say you were using a G&L and a Buddha amp.
You're correct. Hi,
Ha!
dude,
I knew
that's
it.
crazy. I don't
Yeah.
know how you remember that. I don't have that guitar anymore. I don't regret it because I've gotten way cooler stuff since then. I'm totally on the 2 rock tip, man. I can't play anything else now.
Oh, wow. I have
I
a
got
similar amp.
Oh, what are you playing through now?
I have a Fuchs, which is like in the same ballpark as a 2 rock, and I love it so much. I only use it for Dopapod. I leave it in the trailer. It's too big and it's got a head and a cab. It's just too complex. Like I'm not gonna take that to a bar gig, really, you know.
Yeah. What do you do on
So when
smaller gigs? Do you just have like a
I have a old like this is what I was using when we knew each other, and I still have it and use it all the time. I have 70s Fender Vibrolux.
Oh, nice.
Um, and I bought that in Boston when I was 19 or 20.
Okay.
Um, I sold a Strat to get it. Um, and I still have it. I love it. So those amps can just like you can take that to almost any gig and it'll do it.
Yeah,
Not
man.
too loud, not too quiet. They're a good pedal platform.
Oh,
They're not
dude.
too big. They're not a pain to move around, I
Yeah.
just feel like it's such a good like blue collar amp.
Yeah, dude.
Um, so around that, you were asking like, I'm sorry, I completely like went off on a tangent. But what was your question regarding the PRS thing?
I'm still astounded by your memory. I'm a little bit taken aback by that right now, Rob. So
Sorry.
I, I think I gotta show you. I should pull it out and show you. I just got a custom shop Strat 4 or 5 months ago. I sold 2
Ooh.
Sirs. I had 3 Sir guitars and I sold 2 of them to get that. I'll pull it out and show you at the end. But yeah, I don't think I remember you playing anything but a PRS at that time.
Well, at that point in time, I probably didn't own anything other than that one PRS.
Yeah, because those are pricey. Those hollow body. Is that a hollow body too, McCarty?
Yep, you got
Yeah.
it.
Mm.
I had, like I said, I had a Strat too, and then I sold it to get that Fender amp, the Vibrolux, that's still upstairs right now. Any like Instagram video or something that I put up, it's that amp, you know. And then any gig I do that isn't Dopapod, it's pretty much always that amp, unless I'm like flying somewhere. Then I'll use whatever they give me.
Right.
But yeah. So I probably that was the only guitar I had, you know.
Yeah.
And I got that guitar because my family didn't have a lot of money growing up at all. But I had my grandfather who I never even got to meet him. You know, he passed away when I was probably 3 or 4, but he left me college money. And when didn't pay for all of my college at all. I don't even think it paid for an entire semester. But it was enough that when I turned 18, I could access it. And the only thing I got was I got that guitar, you know, and then the rest went to college.
Yeah.
You know.
And then you still have it though. That's still the same one you've been playing, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I just flew home with it from the tour yesterday. I didn't use it a lot on this last tour because I have a Silver Sky too, which is still it's a Paul Reed Smith, but
All that.
But it's a Strat too, you know. I still call it a Strat. Like I'll be like, I'm gonna use the Strat tonight because it does all the same stuff as a Strat.
Yeah.
I use that for most of this tour because it's exciting for me to use it. I don't know what it's gonna do, and I like that. And I don't know what I'm gonna do on it. I think maybe it helps me find some new things.
Yeah. I mean, you have a relationship with them now, right? Like with Rich Hannon. Are you hooked up with Rich and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know Rich and Bev. Well, Peter Schulsky too, who's the last time I checked, he was their Northeast sales, like the head of Northeast sales. But I haven't talked to him in a long time.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're very cool. They're super accommodating and generous, mostly just in the fact that they keep that hollow body operational.
Yeah.
That's really the thing I care about the most is I want that guitar to that's kind of my rock. So I always need it to work well. So they've replaced the tuners and the bridge a couple of times. They did a refret a couple of years ago. It had been, I think, 13 years, with the same frets.
Man.
So yeah, they're helpful in that regard. I've never had to change the pickups, but someday I'll probably have to because I've used it so much that there's no metal on the bridge pickup. Like I've picked through the metal on the bridge pickup.
Is that bridge piece, is that a wraparound on that guitar, or is it a stop tail, or is it a tune-o-matic on that?
The string goes through away from the fretboard and then wraps around the other way. But it's a one-piece bridge.
Yeah. Yeah, those are rad. They've done so much cool stuff with their upgrading those instruments and their new pickups, like the 5815s and all those PAF kind of low wind humbuckers that they've been doing are killing, man.
Are those cool?
Oh god, dude, they sound so good. I'm on the verge. I don't have any guitars with humbuckers, Rob, so I've been trying to.
Really?
Yeah, I sold. I mean, the stuff that I had did have humbuckers in it. I sold them, but now I'm kind of I think I need to look into, a 335-ish type of a guitar. I think that would suit me well. People keep asking when I do demos on my channel, they're like, do you have a guitar with humbuckers? I want to hear this pedal with humbuckers or blah, blah. I'm like, I don't have one. I'm sorry, man.
Wow. But I understand because for a long time I didn't have any guitars with single coils in them. And now I'm down with single coils. They're so great, if you can get over the noise issue, which I bought a hum canceling pedal and now I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But I know what it's like to just you have your sound and you're like, why would I deviate from that?
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier you had 3 different Sur guitars. I thought about getting one of those for a while, but I couldn't find one anywhere to try one.
They're dope. I kept one, so I have a Telly that I kept, and I keep that in C standard tuning because I'm doing a lot of slide now.
Okay.
So like I'll do like open C. I'll change it to open C and I'll leave it in C standard to do like these really deep baritone-y type stuff.
That's cool.
And I keep the Strat in standard. But I loved those Sirs. I mean, they sound like a Strat, like a super Strat, you know.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
my problem with it was this, Rob, is that I shot it out. So I have a 99 Strat, like an American Strat, and then I
Okay.
had the Sir, and I shot them out against each other, and I was like, the Sir doesn't sound enough like a Strat. Like I feel like
Really?
nothing sounds like a Strat but a Strat. Like
Wow.
it for me, for what I was doing in that moment, and it's on my channel, and if you watch it, like I definitely played the same riffs, did all the same stuff, and I was just like, this 99 Strat is like it's a Sir killer in a way, you know?
Was the stir like? How is it different than a real Strat? Is it darker or something, or is it just like too? Is it too maybe like is it too like squeaky clean? Because they're like such high functioning instruments. You know, a Strat almost
Yeah.
needs to be slightly imperfect to really be as stratty as it can be, right?
That's what it is, I think, and, like, it could be a pickup thing too, like, because 'cause I'm really into that, like, super throaty,
Mm,
pickup sound, super glassy and whatnot, and this
yeah,
Sir on the neck pickup would kinda do it, but it wouldn't do that thing totally. It was, like, 98.5% there, you
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
But that's when I was like, "You know what? I feel like I can let go of 2 of these and get a custom shop," 'cause it was like a midlife crisis purchase where I was like, same thing with the 2 Rock when I bought that a few years ago. I sold a bunch of stuff and bought that, but that's how I felt about the Strat. I was like, dude, yeah, I can't take these with me when I die, man. Like,
Yeah.
I should enjoy my life while I'm here. I've always wanted a custom shop Strat. Just get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
I had the, not a midlife crisis, but like a just like a guitarist crisis where I was like, "I need a real Strat," you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
I love my Silver Sky, and I feel like that is, like, even strattier than some Strats to me. Like,
yeah,
it does the thing, you know? At least sonically to me, it just, like, when I hear if somebody played a Silver Sky and didn't show me, I'd be like, "Oh, you're playing a Strat," you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I don't have as much experience with them as you do. But anyways, like a month or 2 ago, I like went on a long drive to like because there's not a lot of guitar stores in Vermont, you know?
Hmm.
So I was gonna drive all the way to Connecticut to try a custom shop Strat. And then like a friend of mine was like, "Oh, well, there's this other store near like Saratoga, which is way closer." And they had a bunch of custom shop Strats, and I tried all of those, but man, like if you're spending $3,000 on a custom shop Strat, you're getting a good deal, you know?
I know, dude. Let me
Yes.
grab it. Let me grab it real quick. I gotta
Yeah,
show you
sure.
this.
Oh, wow.
So I got it from Wildwood Guitars in
Yeah.
Colorado. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's based on a 61, and it's got like, it's got like a little bit of relicking.
We got the checking kinda thing going on and all
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if you'll be able to
That's
see
cool.
it as much, but like it does have a little bit of checking on it.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. That's so classic.
Yeah, and then the back, it's all rubbed off and whatnot. But dude, it really like super inspiring. And I don't think I ever really understood the whole vintage Strat neck thing until I played
Mm.
this. The neck profile on this thing is so easy. It's so easy to play. It's just like plays itself in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
Does it have, a vintage radius too,
mhm.
or is it so it's just straight up 60 specs, it's got the 7 and a quarter radius and everything?
Well, no, you know what? I'm wrong about that. It's 9.5, I think. I think the radius
Okay.
is 9.5.
That's a man, that's a blessing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So, but it's just like a really good sounding guitar and it stays in tune and it plays like butter. And I just like, and I took a chance, man. I was like, I'm just ordering this. And I talked to Wildwood and I was like, yo, I'm spending like $3,800 or 4 grand.
yeah.
Like, what if I don't like it? And I just sent it back.
Yeah.
I was like,
But
oh,
and you
okay.
also, like, you know, The nice thing about having instruments is that you can essentially, with a little bit of work, trade them for other instruments, you know? So
Totally. Totally.
I sold a couple of things. I didn't even finish my half of the story here. I went to go buy a custom shop Strat, and I just bought a Pro 2 Strat, one of like the new ones, because I just didn't want to spend. I couldn't justify spending $3,000,
Yeah.
or more, And
You
I
don't need
love
to.
that Strat. I just took it to a repair guy today to put. I bought like a set of like Lawler humbuckers with a Lawler single coil in the middle, and I just took it to the shop to put those in it today.
Dang.
I'm really excited to get that because I used
That's
to have another Strat by that company Maloon. Have you ever heard of Maloon?
yes.
I had a Strat made by them that had 2 humbuckers with a single coil in the middle, and I loved that guitar. It was awesome. I
Really.
kinda sold it impulsively during COVID,
Mm.
and I always regretted it, so I'm
You
waiting to
got it
get that
back,
kind of
buddy.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Um,
Yeah,
we're running out of time. I wanted to ask you some more stuff. So,
sure.
let's talk a little bit since we kind of both are kind of cut from the. I hate to say jam bands. I mean,
Say
you
Jam
guys,
Man all you want, man, I love it.
because you guys are in that vein. But like, what drew you to that music? Was it the improvisational aspect of it? Like, what really drew you into that music?
Certainly the improvisational aspect, I think I was drawn to the improvisational aspect because of just, like, having ADD or something, you know?
Right. Yeah.
'Cause I do, like, mega. So I think it was exciting to, you know, I guess to know that I would never hear the song played the same way twice, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how, like, infinitely deep the rabbit hole is even on for one band, let alone all of them.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
never ends, My favorite band, it might still be my all-time favorite band, but before I got into, like, Phish or any jam bands, Pink Floyd was just everything to me and still
Yeah.
is. And I think they might have, like, kinda prepared me for the idea of jam bands because they have really long songs.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had no problem sitting for 13 minutes and listening to "Shine On You Crazy Diamond," you
Me
know?
too. Me too, man.
So yeah, so then by the time somebody showed me, I don't know, like, if you hear Harry Hood by Phish and it's 13 minutes, that's even kind of a short Harry Hood, you know?
Right.
I was ready for that,
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and, yeah, so that drew me to it, and I know some people, like, maybe, like, they got into, like, jam bands for the party aspect of it, but I was a straight edge kid as a teenager. I didn't do any of that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I think just the quirkiness and the fact that it was okay to not be perfect really appealed to me. Because I'm not, you know.
Who is?
And so I just thought that universe was so human and like relatable. And yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. It's cool because, like, with me, with my older brother with the Grateful Dead, I think I Fish resonated with me because it was a little harder edged coming from the
Mm,
90s world. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah,
when you hear something like Dire Wolf and then you hear Chalk Dust Torture, you're like, oh, what's that over there? What's that? You know
yeah,
what I mean? It's totally
yeah.
different, you know?
It,
Um,
it can be a little more seductive for people who grew up in an area of like heavier music,
totally. Which is like
Yeah.
Umphreys is that for other people too.
Yeah,
You
totally.
know, in a way. But, it's funny, so, like, obviously, all this stuff with Chuck, which is so upsetting,
Yeah.
recently, he was a huge influence. He still is a huge influence. I mean, we had a gig Friday
Me
night, and my
too.
Chuckisms came out, and,
Yeah.
it's I remember being at Virginia Beach Amphitheater seeing Fish in, like, '97 or something, or '98, and we were walking through the lot. Some dude had a Mo shirt on, and we were like, "What's that? Is that a band?" And he was like, "Yeah, and they rock just as hard as Fish, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
And then I just went down that rabbit hole of No Doy. I think possibly only No Doy and Head Seed were the only things that were out at that time.
Wow.
Like Tin
That's really
Cans
on.
hadn't come out. So, but that band for me was the perfect marriage of like what you're saying about like I love that band because they don't take themselves too seriously.
No. They
And
don't. And
that's what it's about, you know?
yeah, it is. For me, at least it is, Um, and I think another thing with Mo with me is I grew up in Rochester, New York. I think they're all kind of New Yorkers, but I guess the band kind of really like got its footing in Buffalo.
Mhm.
But just sort of like they're all sort of have some sort of a relationship with all these little like rusty old I-90 towns in Western New York.
Nice.
And I swear to God, they sound like it too. Like there's just this sort of like honesty in the music and like humility in the music that's just like I'm like, yes, that's so Western New York. Like, we don't I feel like out there, just growing up there, like nobody's nobody's very pretentious really, because they're all like, we're in Rochester. Like, come on, like we're not in
Right.
Brooklyn right now or something.
Yeah.
So there's this down to earthness to it.
Mhm.
The first most CD I ever bought wasn't even because as soon as I was into the Jam Man thing, I wanted as many live things as I could get. Like studio
Yeah.
albums were secondary. So I found like, do you remember there was this like wave early on in internet technology when um you could see a band play a show and then like order CDs at the concert and they would like come in the mail.
Oh, yeah. What
And
was
it would
that?
come in these like sort of like light brown kind of beige packaging.
I
And it
do
would say
remember that.
like, and there were sponsors. It would be like brought to you by Coca-Cola or something.
Right.
Well, I found one of those for Mo at like a record store used, and it was them playing at the Orange Peel in Asheville, North Carolina in 2003. And that was the
Mhm.
first Mo I ever heard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the first thing that really like knocked my socks off with him was hearing Wormwood. You know that song?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
'Cause
Mhm.
Chuck's an amazing slide guitar player.
He is.
He's so tasteful and classy and like just he's so great. And his
Yeah.
tone to begin with is awesome.
Mhm. I know.
And that song I was a Pink Floyd fan, and that was sort of Floydy, really like spacey and like not shreddy or anything and kind of mellow. So I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. And
You know what's cool about him too, man, that I found out after the fact, because 'cause I'm a huge Wayne Krantz fan too,
me too. That's a
and
major one for me.
me too, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to have a conversation and hang and just to talk about that.
I know, just
But,
talk about Wayne.
we could talk about that for 3 hours. But, but Chuck is a huge Krantz head, and I did not know that until
Have you found there's a recording of Krantz sitting in with them? Have you heard that?
what?
Yeah.
No, where's that
Yeah.
from?
I wanna say the Capitol Theater, because I think the Ringers opened for them at one point.
How are you gonna do that show and follow that band? Like, how is Mo that like, "You know what? Maybe we should let them headline this show."
'Cause they're cool dudes, and they
Yeah,
don't
that's true.
give
They don't
a crap
care.
about stuff like that, I mean,
Mhm.
I really mean it because we've we've interacted with them a lot over the years and, like, opened for them and just run into them. They are, like, some of the kindest people in the music scene that I've ever met, you
I
know?
bet, yeah.
Yeah, they're so cool. Vinny and Al are actually, like, how I met my fiance, actually.
Really?
Really cool. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Yeah, they
Yeah.
seem like they're just like, a good hang and very, very humble and appreciative of what they have, you know?
Yeah, and they're very
So
I just feel like they have, whether or not they're doing it on purpose, they have sort of like a father-like disposition to, like, all us younger bands,
that I mean,
you
as
know?
they should, man. They've been doing it,
Yeah,
kicking it around since the '90s, man. That's a
yeah,
long time. So,
yeah,
man. Well, dude, I really hope that guy pulls through this and he comes back like Pat Martino. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Because that band needs him. And like you said, like just alone, like his touch and his feel and his voice in that band is just like, dude, here's a funny story. So we went to see them when they did Dark Side of the Moon in Philly. We went to see them. And then, like,
I didn't know they did that.
oh, dude, it was killing. And they had the Wizard of Oz on, like, the Jumbotron above them while they played to it, and they had headphones on to make sure they were tracking with how that works.
Wow, that's so cool.
It was rad. But they, shortly after that, they played in Wilmington, Delaware. So we went to see them there, and like it got to the point where I went to see them so much. They knew I was always Chuck's side. And I met Al and Chuck one time at Wilmer's Park a long time ago. And I lost my stuff because Chuck was my hero. So I bought this shirt, this Chuck and Go Nut shirt. I just put this on Instagram the other day. And he drew a picture of Buster of like this pig smoking this big cigar. He's a killing artist.
Really?
He drew this. I'll send you a picture of it. He drew, or just look on my Instagram. He drew this amazing picture and like signed it and wrote Al, or said Chuck says relax, and drew a star and said kick mark. And then Al was there, and I was like, hey man, you want to sign it? And he was like, are you sure you want me to sign it? And he wrote Al is number 2.
Oh God, we're such cool dudes.
Yeah, but I remember seeing them and being at that Wilmington show, and I saw them enough that they recognized me. And Al ripped up some solo. He crushed it. He went like prehistoric on something. I don't know what tune it was, but I was like pointing at him like, yeah. And he was kind of like, I can do it too, buddy. Like kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not number 2.
Yeah, but it really is,
man.
you know, man.
Yeah.
It's like they complement each other so well.
They really do. Yeah. And I think Chuck also, to his credit, has one of the most unique vibratos out of any guitar players that I know.
I agree.
Like it's almost like this left to right vibrato rather than like an up to down Clapton vibrato. I know if we're getting like really nitpicky now, but I always thought that was like just one small detail that like drew me to him too. Like he can hit one note differently than other people, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way that he approaches things like Krantz in that angular sense where he's like, the note you think's coming is not going to come.
Yeah. You know what? One of my you know the song Bullet? You know that
Oh
tune?
yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. The solo on the studio version of that was the first time where I was like, I think he might like Wayne Krantz, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's pretty crazy.
Yep.
And like one of my favorite Strat tones too, just in general. He gets such a classic Strat sound, you know?
Oh my God, dude. I love that Pink Sparkle Strat. When I saw he was playing that again, like in this past tour, I was like, yes, I love that guitar, dude. But then I saw he was playing a Collins at one point. I was like, holy crap. Like
he's used a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I sat in with them on Jam Cruise once, which
Nice.
Chuck invited me to sit in. He just like, he saw me sit in with my friends in Twiddle and then like just found me afterwards. Like, how cool of a dude is that? He doesn't have to do that.
That's awesome. What did you play with them?
What?
What song did you play with them?
I've sat in with them twice. That time I played Silver Sun. Is that the name of it?
Yeah, that long instrumental thing.
Yeah, Gary Floydy tune. And then the second time I was really excited. I played Bring You Down with them.
Oh,
which I was excited because that was the first song I ever saw them play live. So
man,
that was neat for me.
Full circle, buddy.
Yeah, but he showed me the Barbie Strat like before I sat in with him for the first time. He was like warming up on it. Yeah. He was complaining about it. He was like, "It's kind of not a great Strat, to be honest. It's like it's not awesome, you know." And I was like, "Yes."
Did you play it at all?
No, I didn't play it, but he was just like it's kind. I remember him saying like it's kind of a dog. That's what he said about it.
It doesn't look like it. He's got that weird lace sensor pickup or something in it. The DiMarzio. Yeah, it's some weird pickup in the bridge, I think. But I always loved that guitar, man. I always thought it was cool. I mean, regardless,
it's just kind of iconic. It's kind of distinct, you know.
Yeah, it's when I think of him with that instrument. But they've all changed around. Like, but that's what I think is cool about. So for you and your PRS and with Dopapod and stuff, like, I mean, there's, you know, I like it because it's Maryland pride, but there's a thing about like, you know, there's not a lot of players in the scene that are playing that company's guitars, you know, really. Well, I guess Pigeons.
I have to respectfully disagree.
Yeah, I was just thinking there's probably a lot.
It feels like every jam band guitar player under the age of 30 has a PRS hollow body now. You know? Which is fine because it's not up to the guitar to be unique. I mean, it's an inanimate object. You know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So grab one that stays in tune and has 6 strings and like see what you have to say on it. So like whatever. We can all use, I mean, almost every guitar player in the 60s used either a Les Paul or a Strat and they all sound different. So I don't think that matters.
No,
but
100%.
I think a lot of people have that guitar now. At least peers of mine, seems like they've embraced it very much, which is cool to see because they're such great guitars. I kind of think a lot of that too is just because a lot of people who are sort of in the same scene that my band is, like, we don't have guitar techs or like we don't have a lot of money to buy a lot of guitars, so a lot of us elect to just get one really, really, really good one that's like not gonna break,
Right.
So I feel
Reliable.
like a lot of guitar players pick that because it's just they know they're gonna be able to trust it. You can tour without a backup and probably not have any problems.
Man.
That's that's kind of why I got one. When
Yeah.
I got one, I was like, this is probably the only time I'm ever gonna have enough money to buy a really nice guitar, so I better really make it count. Like that's why I picked that one.
Yeah. Well, you chose wisely as the
Yeah.
man
I do
in
use
the
other guitars though. I used a Gibson for a while. I had a 336 that I used in Dopapod and like a couple of different like Strat guitars, which is kind of becoming my favorite thing lately is something of that ilk. But
What
that's
did you
always the
play?
one.
Sorry,
What?
what did you play on Think on the album version of that? Like, was that like that compressed like funky part? Was that the PRS or was that like the Silver
That's
Sky or
the
something?
Silver Sky doing all the rhythm
I
stuff.
thought so. Yeah.
Um, Any of like the heavy, chunky, just like riffs are a Les Paul that it was
Okay.
just in the studio. It's not mine.
Yeah.
Uh, and then the solo at the end, which is just like that was just like the scratch solo from like the take that we used.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing through like a Mesa Boogie that the engineer had, and I thought it sounded awesome. It sounded great to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love
Yeah.
stories like that. When you guys were in the studio working on that stuff, is that how you kind of roll? You're just like, well, I'll try this today. I'll try this, and this feels good today. This doesn't, or did you stick with something?
No, most of the time, at least amp wise, I almost never experiment. I just use what I know I like,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is probably like my Fuchs, or honestly, I almost feel like my Vibrolux works a little better in the studio sometimes.
Mm.
Um, but that time, I like for years that engineer, because we made a bunch of albums there. He was like, "You got to try this Mesa Boogie." It was called a Heartbreaker. You
I
ever heard of
never heard of
those?
that. No.
They don't make them anymore.
Interesting.
And I was like, yeah, whatever. He's like, no, it's awesome. It's got EL34s and it's got 6L6s and you can do anything with it. And I finally was like, fine, I'll try it after years. And he was right. We could just sit in the control room and like tweak it endlessly and get anything out of it. So
That's dope.
yeah. So
Mm.
in that sense, I could get it to sound like lots of different amps without actually having to like try anything else.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
you know,
surprising, man. Like what you find, like the most unsuspecting thing could turn out to be the coolest thing for you on a record or live or whatever.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, absolutely. I remember reading an article like, are you into Robin Ford at all? Do you listen to
oh,
him?
heck yeah, dude. Yeah.
A huge early influence for me. My dad took me to see him at like a bar when I was 16. It was
Nice.
good. But I read some article where on one of his albums he used like a Line 6 pod just
Really?
because he thought it was like kind of different and cool, you know?
Yeah.
He's
Dude.
got like a Dumble amp and all this stuff, and he just like not on the whole album. I think he said he used it on one tune, but he was like, I don't know, it just had the sound I was looking for, so I used it.
Yeah.
And it's like I checked out the tune, and it's like this deliberately kind of like scooped MIDI, kind of what you think it would sound like, but it works for the tune. It
Yeah.
sounds great.
That's funny.
Yeah,
I mean, Line 6 stepped it up, man, with the Helix and the Stomp series and all that stuff. I mean, they're making it's not the Spider. Remember the Spiders that were in like the
oh
practice
yeah,
rooms in
I
Berklee?
wanted one more than anything in the
You
world when I was a kid.
Are you
I
messing with me?
No, well, when you're 13 and
Yeah.
and Limp Bizkit's on the radio or something, you're like, I want that sound.
Yeah. That's so funny,
um,
man.
but talk about pedal inflation. Like now, Trey uses some Line 6 pedal. I bet those things are gonna go for like $500 on eBay. Did you see that
Dude,
he uses some Line 6 pedal in his rig now?
I did. Like the most recent like rig rundown thing he did.
Yeah,
That dude's rig. First of all, I love the fact that Trey is like so like pumped up about that stuff that he's like wants to talk about it and is like
he's still like a
super.
14-year-old or something. He's so enthusiastic about it.
Oh my god, it's so great.
Yeah,
And to have, dude, can you imagine having his like Texas, like as far as just having a tech and like having people work on your stuff. I mean, his signal chain is gigantic.
I wonder if he. I wonder if he just says a sound that he wants to be able to create and then they figure out what gear is going to do it. And then
I
he,
don't
you
know.
know, and then he like messes with it and was like, yeah, I like this, or look for something else. I wonder how it works. Because he has to have like a whole team. You can't have that
Oh, yeah.
insane of a guitar rig and have assembled it all. I mean, he's too busy to sit around all day doing that. I guarantee it. You
It
know,
seems like a tech's nightmare, like keeping that stuff up and running as far as like how much abuse and use it gets and stuff.
there's
Oh.
just so much stuff that can break too. You know, which
Mm-hmm.
I can't really relate. I have like I don't know 6 pedals on a, and I never mess with them. You know,
Go through
so
your signal chain real quick of each pedal, and then we'll do the lightning round get done because I don't want to keep you
sure,
forever.
yeah.
But
Um, I have a whammy that I use sometimes. That's the first thing. And then it actually goes into the tuner next, just because the whammy's off to the side, so it's like on a little sideboard. So the tuner's next because the whammy's like only there like half the time. It's almost I put it on there if I'm willing to have slightly worse tone for the night, for the sake of having a fun toy to play with. Um,
right.
so it's the after that it's the tuners, it's a boss one, and then my 2 overdrives. Right now it's a Maxon Vintage Overdrive Pro, which is great. It's like sort of tube screamery, but I like it better than a normal tube screamer. I think it sounds much better.
Oh, okay.
And then an Analog Man King of Tone, which is like 2 buttons, a clean boost, and like it has an overdrive, but it's more like suitable for like dirty rhythm,
Mm.
just barely dirty, and it sounds great. So those are all my overdrives, and I can mix and match any of those 3 buttons, the tube screamer and the 2 buttons on the King of Tone. Then a phaser, uh, a tiny little delay that's just like it's like mini and it's pink. It's made by this company TWA,
Okay.
and it sounds great. That's just like a long delay for solos. That's like not obtrusive. Then I have a TC Electronic, like this big. I don't even remember the name of it. Flashback, the Flashback X4, and that's like I can save presets on it and do tap tempo. Although now I don't even have to use the tap tempo very much because our drummer, who has like a laptop situation, he connects my delay pedal to his laptop via a MIDI cable, and then my tempo will track not even just with the computer, with whatever tempo the drums are playing at. The MIDI will sense that tempo, and my delay will keep up with it. So I
What?
almost don't even have to step on the tap tempo anymore. It's amazing.
That's
They make my life
crazy.
so much better. It's so much fun.
Oh my
And then it's
god.
yeah, and then the last one is a Strymon Flint,
Oh,
which is
dude,
it's the best.
that's my favorite pedal of all time. I think.
It's seriously such a game changer. Like, just so great. If I'm bringing like 2 pedals to a gig, it'll be a tube screamer in that.
Amen.
Like I would forego delay in favor of that. You know?
I would agree. That dude,
Yeah.
that thing is so killing, man. So like no fuzz? Have you ever gotten into fuzz stuff at all?
I messed with it a little bit. I have a Maxon Octave fuzz. It's called a Void
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes I'll put on there for fun. And it's not like Hendrixy octave fuzz. It's way more like punk rock. It's like really trashy. It sounds like it's broken even when it's working.
That's good.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And especially the octave fuzz, you can do the Oz Noy thing where if you roll your volume down, it sounds like a sitar a little
Sitar,
bit. You ever mess
yeah.
with that?
Yeah,
So
man.
I'll mess with that, and I have another fuzz that's sort of like a more like a big muff that I'll use every once in a while, but not live like ever.
Right.
I just can't get it. I want to get it to sound good live, but I haven't figured out how to ever.
Yeah.
You know,
It's probably
yeah,
hard to tame too sometimes with the hollow body as well. So
it is.
but
Yeah,
you know the
yeah.
trick, Rob, and I learned this from Doyle Bramhall, is stacking an overdrive with the fuzz to smooth it out.
You got to use both at the same time.
Yeah. Like
Oh, okay.
he uses like for a while back he had a Jan Ray, the Vemium Jan Ray, and he was running that with a dude. I have both of them because I'm a Doyle nerd, but put the Jan Ray and he used this company. It's called Third Stone. It's called the what is it called? It's the Access Third Stone. Oh yeah, it's Burkos Effects, but it's this pedal. So it's like this is the pedal that Doyle was using for a while. That was like his fuzz.
Oh, okay.
But he was like, yeah, you got to stack it with, an overdrive pedal to smooth out the harshness. And it
Yeah.
gets more of that violin, like Eric Johnson-y type of stuff in a way,
Gotcha. Okay.
So maybe try
Yeah.
that. I don't know.
I've also
But
kind of untested theory, but I feel like Strat players seem to like fuzz more than humbucker guys.
maybe
Because
because I have like
yeah,
16 buzzes in my drawer.
yeah, I don't know, but like I went and saw Krantz at the 55 bar once. I've seen him there twice, but I was right up front so I could see what he was doing. And he stayed on the 4th position all night, except for I noticed whenever he'd turn on his fuzz, he'd go to his bridge pickup and
Yep.
stay there.
Makes sense.
You know? So maybe, I don't know, maybe some guys use it to like, because it sounds like big, so it might like round off the bridge pickup or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah,
I've never
because you don't want to
tested
be
the
too
theory.
ice picky with the Strat. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I don't
who
know.
knows?
It works, man. It's a cool vibe. But
Yeah,
all right, Rob, you want to do this lightning round? Get down, buddy.
let's do it. Yeah.
All right, cool. So what we're gonna do? I'm gonna ask you 10 questions. It's a
Okay.
this or that type of a situation, so you can, burn right through them if you want, and just tell me what the answer is, or you can
Okay.
explain your answer. I love hearing
Okay.
explanations.
Okay.
We're gonna put on a metronome at 110 BPM for a little suspense.
All right.
First question is always the same:
Okay.
Lennon or McCartney?
Lennon.
Tube Screamer or Blues Breaker?
Tube Screamer.
Anchorman or Talladega Nights?
Talladega Nights.
Hoist or Billy Breathes?
Billy Breathes.
Mass or VT, Vermont?
VT.
Jimmy Herring, superhero or alien?
Superhero.
Since we got Thanksgiving coming up, mashed potatoes or sweet potatoes?
Mashed potatoes.
Tin cans and car tires or wormwood?
Wormwood.
Compression, take it or leave it?
Leave it.
All right, last one, Rob. This is sometimes the hardest one. Sometimes it's the easiest one. If you could take one album, doesn't have to be your favorite album of all time. Keep in mind, just one album.
Yeah.
And erase it from your memory so you've never heard it before. Just so you could go back and listen to it for the first time again. What album would that be?
Man. Yeah. Probably Wish You Were Here.
Okay. Why?
That would. I just can I backtrack a little bit?
Yeah.
It would could it be a tie? Can I give you 2 things?
Yeah.
It can't be.
Why not? No. It can be
The
a
other,
tie.
the other one would probably be the White Album.
Okay.
But I guess like the with Wish You Were Here, it's one moment when I can still remember. Like most albums are like a really like they creep up on me slowly when it's a band I haven't heard before, and it takes me a while to like to figure out that it's a new favorite of mine. Whereas Wish You Were Here, the first time I heard it, I was like, I knew it was one of the greatest things I'd ever heard, like instantly,
Right.
And I knew why it was one of the greatest things I ever heard because of the use of space and how big the concept was and how beautiful every instrument sounded and how absolutely perfect the guitar playing was. Like, and I mean perfect,
Yeah.
So that would be my answer there.
Okay. Is Have a Scar on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that song is so gnarly. Oh God.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to pick a favorite Pink Floyd album, and I could think of a moment listening to every Pink Floyd album when it blew my mind, but I have a distinct memory of being in like my room as a kid and hearing that and being like, I can't even believe what I'm hearing,
Dude. Yeah. Well, it's a good one, man. That's a good choice.
Thank you.
Rob, tell everybody, so first of all, about your Patreon, where they can find you on that as far as guitar nerdery and lessons and all that jazz.
Sure. I have a Patreon where I post guitar lesson videos, and sometimes it's just maybe thoughts or something, or every once in a while I'll interview people and kind of whatever I'm feeling. But I have that, and it's patreon.com/Rob Compa Guitar Lessons. And I teach privately over like Zoom or Skype or whatever. I do that a lot more. Like, people just shoot me a message on like Facebook or Instagram. That's they can find me for that too.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
Cool.
that would probably be the extent of my educational outlets at the moment, are those two things, you know?
Well, those are good things. And then Dopapod is your main gig,
Mhm.
correct? So
Yep.
tell everybody. So you guys are going back on tour very, very soon, right? A couple weeks. Get a couple weeks
Yeah.
off.
Yep. We just finished 4 weeks, and then we have these next 2 weeks off, and then 3 more weeks. So,
Nice.
yeah, and I think we'll be in like the Midwest, the Northeast, the Southeast on those 3 weeks. So, yeah.
Nice. And
Yeah.
everybody, you got to go check out Dopapod, if not only to hear this man play guitar, because he really is just fantastic on the instrument. And like,
Oh,
you know,
thank you.
I remember listening to you play and just being like in awe of just like the facility that you have and like the way that you speak with the instrument is really inspiring and continues to
Aw,
inspire me as a player. So, you know,
thanks,
everybody,
man.
yeah, dude. So everybody just make sure you go check them out when they're in your town. You will not be disappointed. They put on a great show and everybody's a killing musician. And did everybody go to Berklee?
We
Yeah,
did. Yeah.
that's what I thought.
All 4 band members met at Berklee, and our light and sound guy also, I think he's the only member who went to Berklee and graduated.
What's
Uh,
your bass player's name? I had a class with your bass player, and I think we were in Livingston Taylor's class together.
oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah, he talks about that class. Chuck
yeah.
Jones.
Okay, yeah. He was great.
Yep.
I always liked there was a couple cats in that class that we all probably felt really out of place. Like, I know I did, but like, you know, Eric Finland, who plays with Kraz, plays organ with Kraz
Yeah,
and stuff.
keyboard player. And he plays with Scott Sherrard too.
He's killing. He's a great
Yeah, he's
player.
awesome.
So he was in the same class, and I felt like probably Chuck, me, and Eric were probably like, what are we doing in here? Like,
What were the other people in the class like?
I feel like it was a lot of singers, like a lot of
Okay.
vocalists. But I remember like Livingston was just very like he's really old school.
Yeah.
So like he had a lot of like and not in a bad way. Like I learned a lot about being like more professional on stage at that time. But I had already been touring the East Coast like before I did that class and I was a seasoned performer, but it was like it just felt weird to me because I felt like we were all anytime we got up and played, it was like funky or blues
Mhm.
or like soulful, like where everybody else was doing this totally like pocket John Mayer singer-songwriter type of a
Yeah,
thing. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
It's
Which is
funny to
what's
think of Chuck
cool about
being
Berklee.
yeah, it's funny to think of Chuck being in that class because he's one of the least orthodox musicians I've ever met in my entire life. And has one of the least orthodox stage presences that I've ever experienced, you know? He thrives on making people feel uncomfortable. He loves it, which is probably the last thing that Livingston Taylor would probably recommend, you
Yeah,
know?
totally. Well, I never got a chance to talk to Chuck. I always enjoyed anytime he was doing stuff, I was into what he was doing because it
Oh,
was
yeah.
different, you know? So, like,
Yeah.
I'm sure he doesn't remember me, but I remember him being in that class. So,
That's funny, man. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
he's one of my dearest friends. Like,
Yeah.
and just like such a weirdo. It's just so fun to be on stage with him because he makes you like not take yourself seriously.
That's
Like
awesome.
if you even begin to, he'll like do something to snap you out of it. You know,
That's awesome. I mean,
which
it
is
dude,
kind of
how
what
good does it feel to be in a band with your friends? You know? Like,
it's the best. It doesn't feel like work. Like when you were like Dopapod's your gig. I'm like gig. Like
yeah.
it's just like hanging out with my buddies.
Yep.
And no one's in charge of anybody else, so it's like it's a strange feeling,
Mhm.
because it almost feels like even when you're working really, really hard, you almost feel like you're being lazy
Ah,
because you're still just hanging around with your friends and like you're supposed to sort of like
right.
get up there and to some extent just be jackasses, you know?
Well, I mean, you
So
guys deserve every ounce of what you've achieved
oh,
and so
thanks,
much
man.
more, and, like and that comes across on the stage. Even when you see video on YouTube of you guys playing or whatever, it definitely comes across as, like, you know, we're having fun, you know? So
Yeah, yeah, we want it to. That's more important than even the music sounding technically good to us at this point,
mhm, mhm.
because we sort of figured out that I mean, I've seen shows that were like note perfect virtuosic music that I was like bored to tears at. Like
Yeah.
I've seen that. So like I on those nights at those shows that I've seen, I was like, man, I wish it would have been sloppier but more fun, you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
So
Well, I don't know, man. There's times where, I mean, I guess it's funny because you guys probably worst night is still a 90% night for most musicians. So it's like, you
I
know what I
don't know
mean?
that, but yeah.
I think you guys are like at a level in terms of like musical prowess that what you've achieved and the stuff that you guys write and how you arrange it and everything. It's just hip. It's hip
Oh,
and
thanks, man.
fun. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that as in a pretentious way. I mean it like you guys have worked hard and you've been grinding and
Yeah.
paying your dues. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
time to have fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we still need to work hard. I want to keep writing new music and keep playing more shows, you know. So,
Yeah.
uh, but for now, it seems like it's a time for us to celebrate more. Like we're so stoked to have the band again. Like because we took a hiatus and then started playing again, and then took another hiatus because of COVID. Um,
Yeah.
so I think at this point, like anytime I'm up there, I'm not even worried about it being the best show we ever played or the most perfect or the best guitar playing I've ever played. I just really want to make sure I'm enjoying it while I got it. Because there's
Yeah.
one thing I learned in the last couple of years, like it can disappear so fast. So
Dude.
right now,
Amen.
I'm just trying to be exactly where I am. Anytime I'm on stage with the band, I want to be there and enjoying it in the moment as much as I can. You know.
Love it. Well, we'll end on that because those are wise words, my friend. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I mean, I hope if you guys come down here to Baltimore at some point, hope I can come out and check you guys out and hang out. So
Please come. Yeah, I'll look at the date and I'll let you know because I know there's something coming up down the pipeline. So yeah.
all right, guys. Rob, thank you so much, buddy. Appreciate it. Everybody, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We'll see you next time.